Welcome to Hackathon Pitching 101. I am super hyped to have all of you here. Again, this is a super low-key, super chill workshop. There is slides, we are going to go over things, but the thing I just want to emphasize is, this isn't the sort of workshop where we're going to be writing leak code. This isn't the sort of workshop where, it's super technical, super scary, blah, 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 blah. The idea of this workshop is you can be any level of technical, you can have been to hackathons before, you can have not been to hackathons before. It's to kind of give you the baseline you're going to need to be successful at Hackathon this weekend in pitching, to make sure everyone's on the same level of knowing what to expect. This is also not a class. I appreciate we're technical, but if you want to shout out and be like, hey, that doesn't make sense, you can do that. This is interactive, so please participate. Okay, so who am I and why am I standing here talking to you about this? I'm Jacqueline. My slides aren't working. There we go. I've judged at 50 hackathons worldwide. I was one of the people who designed digital judging when everything went digital. I was previously a Major League Hacking coach, so you saw someone on stage stand at opening ceremony and be like, be a good person, and use these things. That was previously my job. I'm currently at Automatic, which is Tumblr's parent company, as well as WordPress.com, WooCommerce, and a bunch of other stuff. And when I was not old, I won 14 hackathon prize categories. I'm basically going to tell you the formula I did that with, and then also give you a peek behind judging and show you kind of what judges are looking for. So, before we start, this is kind of what to expect. So I'm going to explain very quickly what to expect during judging. We're going to talk about the anatomy of a good pitch. This is the bulk of this workshop. It's going to get a little bit lengthy at times, so I'm going to apologize if I'm standing up here talking for a long time, but we are going to have plenty of interactive stuff. We're then going to talk about targeting your audience. You would be amazed at hackathons how many people do the same pitch for every judge, and you shouldn't do that. And then we're going to talk about what happens if you don't finish your project. You might notice currently it is Saturday afternoon, and I'm going to guess none of you have finished your project yet. Anyone finished? That's a good thing. I would be concerned if you had. So don't worry, even if you haven't finished, you should be demoing for judging this weekend. And then, of course, we can have some practice time, which is super low-key. Some of you might be feeling this. Is it anyone's first hackathon in here? All right, that is a completely valid feeling to feel. In fact, literally in this room 6 years ago, Hackathon was my first ever hackathon back in 2018 as a hacker. And this is how I felt. And let me tell you, it was fine. You'll get through it. It is a little bit scary, but you'll be fine. All right, so let's talk about terminology really quick. Does anyone not know what I mean when I say demos? Okay, so demos, you're going to demo to judges. You're going to show them what you've built. And you're going to demo to multiple sets of judges. That's a little intricacy you should be aware of. We'll get to that shortly. Judging is going to be happening on Sunday, and judges are going to be evaluating what you build using the demo that you do to them. And during your demo, you're going to be pitching to judges. So rather than just showing or talking about your project, you're pitching it, you're selling it, you're trying to convince them that it is the best thing that has ever been built. Or isn't, depending on what you want to do. It's up to you. I don't control you. And one thing I want you to know is we talk about pitching and stuff. These are skills that are useful even outside of a hackathon context we're talking in. So if you go to do a job interview, for example, it's the exact same skills. If you're going to do a university application, if anyone here is in high school, it's the exact same skills. So just these are very transferable skills, but one specific thing to Hack for North I want you to know is how long you're going to have to pitch. Because when we talk about investor pitches and stuff, maybe it'll be 20 minutes, maybe it'll be 30, maybe it'll be an hour. At Hack for North, you have 3 minutes to sell what you have built to judges. Do you think 3 minutes is a long time? 3 minutes is not a long time. And so we need to be pretty compact. So I'm going to be sharing basically a structure which you can follow that will hopefully fit everything into those 3 minutes. And then one final disclaimer before we get started. Judges want you to succeed. As I mentioned, I've judged over 50 hackathons at this point. Judges are really on your side. In fact, the secret they don't tell you is most of the judges used to be hackathon kids. So they're just going back to the hackathons they were hackers at, and they want to see you succeed because it's how they succeeded. I wouldn't be where I was today without demoing at hackathons. So trust me, they want to support you. Pitching is also a skill. It might be your first time doing public speaking. It might not be, but it might be your first time doing a hackathon pitch. It is okay to get lost and confused and not really know what you're doing, because I sure did. And finally, it's okay to be nervous, because if you're not, How? Like, honestly, how? And most importantly, you're going to be awesome. And one final step is that 50% of hackathons, statistically, at every MLH hackathon across North America, are first-time hackers. So if this is your first hackathon and you feel like you're going up against some crazy competition, literally 50% of the people at this hackathon are in the exact same boat as you. So don't stress out. All right, so that's just the general info. Let's get into the actual use stuff. Let's talk about the anatomy of a good pitch. Before I start, does anyone know what goes into a pitch? Does anyone have any ideas? Yeah?
Some problem and solutions.
Yeah, like a problem and a solution. That's a good idea. Yeah?
Interact with the product.
Interact with the product. Super important. That's a good one. Anyone else? Yeah? A hook? You've seen this before. Yeah?
Interaction with the judge.
Yeah, interaction with the judge, super important. Like, they're a human being, believe it or not. I know sometimes it's easy to forget. Anyone else? Yeah?
Like why your product is important.
Why your product is important, yeah. Definitely has to be grounded in truth, is what I would say, but yes, that's a very important thing to mention. So, let's talk about the 3 things I think should be in every single pitch. This isn't necessarily everything that should be in your pitch, but these 3 things should be there. The what and the why. So what have you built and why is it important? The how. This is a hackathon. This isn't like a business competition. It's not a design-a-thon. So how on a technical level did you build what you've built? And finally, a live demo. Has anyone ever heard the phrase show, don't tell? Yeah? Show, don't tell is possibly the most important thing when you are doing judging and demos at a hackathon. If you just talk about what you've built for 3 minutes and then never show them it, what are they going to judge? So showing is really important, and we're going to talk about how to show shortly. All right, let's start on the what and the why. This is where it's going to get interactive, so get ready. This is one of my hackathon projects back before I got old and got a bad back. This is called Power Plant. Power Plant came second place in the Auto Hack 2, 3, one of the 2. And it was a really simple thing. We did a hardware hack, and it was an Arduino with a water sensor on that we put some stickers on, and it sent some data to a computer. If that sounds complicated, it was 200 lines of code, and it took us a whole weekend to build this. And if I was to go pitch Power Plant to you, I would use this structure. So we built blank, a blank, that blanks. I'll give you an example in a second, but your aim is to hook your audience. You mentioned a hook earlier. Hooks are so important because you immediately need to get the judges to care about what you're talking about. If you imagine I'm a judge right now, I might have seen 100 projects this weekend. If I don't immediately go, oh my god, this is amazing, it's going to be really difficult for me to remember it. So at the end, when I'm trying to decide, oh, who's the best, if I don't remember you, then I can't choose you. But if you had an amazing hook, then I'll probably remember you. But I do want to prioritize like showing over talent, so you should always keep your hook brief. So in this power plant example, what would I have as my hook? Well, I think a pretty good one is we built Power Plant, an Arduino-based plant health monitor that is designed to work in less developed countries. Because it didn't need internet, it was direct over a serial port, and it worked pretty well. So I appreciate I'm about to go throw you all into the deep end, but I'll give you one more example before I do that. And that is Hackathon. This is the project that got me my first ever co-op. This was, it turns out, the VP of Cloud at Royal Bank of Canada at the time. I thought he was a random recruiter. He was not. So we built a Pokemon-style game. And the idea of this game was, we wanted to make it turn-based. This was when Twilio was kind of a big thing, so you could like text moves. And it was developed in Node.js. So rather than Express server, it was very, very simple. It was like just raw HTML and CSS in the front end, nothing like React or anything like that. And we tried to use Facebook's game API. When that was on these slides 4 years ago, it didn't make me sound as old. But yeah, we tried to use it and it didn't work. So I told you very little about this project. But turn to a person next to you and try and write a hook for it. And if there's no one next to you, make it so there is. As a reminder, that is your structure. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Talk.
You guys remember what hackathon is?
I'll put it back on the side. I'm gonna switch between them. Don't worry. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, awesome. Gonna give you one more minute. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just think of something as a group. Good advice over here, but judges also don't know how it works, so you can tell a story. All right. Does anyone want to share what their team came up with? Yes, that was a very quick hand.
We built Hackathon, a game that lets you fight your friends' pets over text.
That's good. We built Hackathon, a game that I can't even say that. A game that lets you fight your friends' pets over text. That's awesome, super catchy. I love that one. Anyone else? Yeah.
We built Hackathon, a turn-based game where you can fight with the characters of your dreams.
Yeah, we built Hackathon, a turn-based game where you can fight the characters of your dreams. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We built Hackathon, a game powered by Julio developed in Node.js, running on an Express server with a front end that connects multitudes of things.
So I'm really glad you came up with that one because you're telling a lot of stuff, but this is stuff we're going to include later. Because remember our hook, we want to be really catchy, really, really fast, really punchy. Okay, those are some great ones actually though. I want to show like a typical one when we run this workshop of what people say. And that is, we built Hackathon, a turn-based game that is played by SMS. Did anyone come up with something like that? Yeah, you kind of added that. This isn't bad, but like I want to show just because you've got like an example and just because you've come up with something, it doesn't mean it's the best thing you can come up with. Because the thing I didn't tell you about this is this won best game at McHacks, and we built this thing in 4 hours. Because rather than pitching it as a turn-based game, we did this. We built Hackathon, a proof of concept that showcases how SMS could be used for large-scale audience games. And rather than talking about the game we built, we talked about how you could use the same technology we were demoing on a stadium level. So you could build your own version of, say, Kahoot, to work with thousands of people because you didn't need to worry about overloading the server because it was SMS, right? It's the same project, like we still just built a silly Pokemon game and I put my future VP on it and named on it. But we told a story. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? Getting some nods? So Hackathon tells you to dream big. And I'm going to ask you all to try and dream big now. You've been building a project for the weekend. You have 2 minutes. Come up with your own hook. Here are the examples we talked about, and then we'll share some in the room shortly. Good luck. $30 more seconds to come up with something, and no, I'm not giving you long. You don't have a name, just come up with a name as well. Just come up with a temporary name. All right. I'm sure none of you have quite perfected it yet, and that is A-okay, but we're going to keep moving. Does anyone want to share what they came up with for their project? Yeah.
We built Medicines, an AI-powered app that helps people. It helps people stay informed about their health decisions.
Yeah. We built Medicines, an AI-powered app that helps people stay informed about their health decisions. Very catchy, very clear, very obvious what you built. Great one. Anyone else? Yeah?
Yeah, so we built Deep Code Girlfriend, an AI girlfriend that helps you power through medium and hard lead code questions.
Yeah. Hello, YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, they did indeed build an AI girlfriend using leak code at Hackathon. That's a great one. I really like that one. Anyone else?
She's cute, by the way.
She's very, really cute if you didn't hear them. Yeah, anyone else? One more? All right. It's okay, but we'll come back to it. Okay, so that is the what. We know what you built, but why have you built it, right? Why you built it is just as important, because we need to know what's the purpose of your project. I will also say that if you have a purpose, it's A-okay. My first hackathon, I built a cookie clicker, but it used internet cookies. It was the most pointless thing I've ever built. And that is the why, because it was funny. But let's expand on your project. So it does this by blank to blank. So for example, it does this by sensing water data, passing it on to a server, and storing it. It can also be expanded to have different types of sensors. And as a result, not solve world hunger, but as a result, improve living conditions in this area. Right? You're telling a story. It hasn't done it yet. You're in E7, but like maybe you can kind of get there. And I do just want to focus on potential. Like, your project has the potential to have a ton of impact, even if it doesn't yet. So you can literally just say, like, project name has the potential to, I don't know, revolutionize AI by, instead of using tokens, uses oranges. I don't know. The area of focus is important because this is a rapidly evolving field, or this could save hundreds of lives, or whatever. You can also think there aren't currently any existing solutions to insert your problem here, which is why you built this. If you can prove that, that's like really key, because it's novel. You built something brand new, and that's really exciting. Who here uses ChatGPT? Yeah, everyone, literally everyone. Of course you do. You should always research. You should always come up with stats to kind of back up claims you're making in a hackathon, ideally. Who knows if ChatGPT is always right? Is ChatGPT always right?
No.
No, it is not. Who here has had ChatGPT make stuff up for them? Some of the judges are going to be experts in the topic area you're talking about without you knowing it. So I would highly recommend if you ChatGPT any data to make sure it is true. Because if a judge thinks it isn't, they will call you out on it. I have done it before. So don't put yourself in that situation. Just check things are true. So that was super, super fast, and that was kind of intentional, because your what and your why are pretty personal to what you built. I'm going to share these slides afterwards, rather than just practicing whys right now. We're going to come back to it, but they're kind of what to think about. Why did you build what you built? All right, got a tiny bit more of me talking, and then we'll get back to the fun bit of doing things. If you are not sure of your why, who here is not sure of what their why is? Yeah, some people are a little bit unsure is what I'm seeing. You're at a hackathon, there's other hackers. Show them what you built and be like, hey, do you think this would be useful? And then like effectively do like mini bits of market research. Why do you think it'd be useful? What would you use it for example? You can research online, but above all, just don't worry. Like if what you built is just a fun hobby project and you just liked building it, for example, you decided you needed like a leak code girlfriend, for example, that's okay, right? It's still got a why. Why did you build it? You wanted to learn this new technology, and this is a great way of learning it. Or, why did you build it? You felt like it would, be a really cool resume project, although, interesting one for your resume, that one. So,
It's deeper than that.
It's deeper than that?
Yeah, it's revolutionized. Like, you know how we have content creators? It will
Yep.
actually, like, become a proof of concept. They don't have to spend time talking with their fans. like AI will do all that stuff while they're
And this is a good pitch.
on the cloud.
Yeah. So rather than just talking about like, oh, it's the lead code girlfriend, oh, it's gonna like revolutionize it. Content creators can use it. Like it's AI, it's gonna save so much time. That is how you do it. Great example. So your turn. We've already heard a little bit of it down here, but give it a quick go. It can do this by, gonna give it like 1 minute. You don't have to share it with the group because this is a bit more personal, but have a go, share with the person next to you. Why?
Let me tell you what we're trying to build. So we want to add technology back into the classroom. Because like right now, I'm actually a high school student. Two of my brothers are also high school students. We think that the learning right now is very like broken. Maybe a good example is like the stuff I'm taking right now, and what we're doing is like really looking at something like Googling and this is the what we want to do is basically with the phone you kind of scan it and you can and then it reflects all the lines that you like every whole cell and then we work together with when each like bone or each like new muscle or like it kind of adds expertise for like a classical one of the examples here but we think there's like multiple different applications like muscles and also like different cells around the class and like it'll add it to
15 seconds.
to memorize. It's definitely like a different way of learning. I know like some people are more physical learners as opposed to like visual. So like it kind of helps.
All right, I can hear some really good discussions happening. You should definitely continue these discussions after the workshop. And if you want feedback, come over at the end. There's going to be plenty of time for it. So we've talked about the what and the why. What comes next? The how. Someone was listening. How. So how did you build it? This, again, is a hackathon. We want to know what you built things with. We also don't necessarily need an entire systems design chart showing the intricacies of every API connection you've used. That is a classic. You can do it, but if you're short on time, you don't need to. But the how, here's some easy sentences to use. Like, we use blank to blank. We use Google Cloud to host a Kubernetes cluster so we can scale our project, for example. If you don't know what that means, let's be even simpler. We use HTML and CSS to build a website. That is just as valid. Yes?
So for example, one of the prize categories, I think is for this thing called Convex, which is like a back-end easy setup thing.
Yep.
We could say our project is hosted on like Convex because it helps with provides us like a database.
Yep. So yeah, for example, like you could say it's hosted on Convex as it's a database, and that allows us to use it at scale, for example. Or that allows us to, manage data.
It's also a prize category.
It's also a price category, and we'll come to that later. Yeah. We also integrated, so we integrated with the ChatGPT, API with React to build a chatbot, which is completely controllable by us, for example. Our project is hosted on Versal because it let us quickly prototype something, but maybe we would host it on something else, such as, AWS, if we built something large scale because of some kind of reason. Again, like I'm just coming up with these as we go. So why it's important, you should be thinking about your project specifically. Who here is using machine learning model? Couple hands. Right. It is completely okay to say we trained a machine learning model to do something. We trained a machine learning model to detect if a photo is of a hamster. Awesome. Please then do this bit. It does this with 6% accuracy or 90% accuracy. The reason why is if you don't say it, you're going to get asked it. And if you don't say it, they're going to presume it's 6 rather than 90% accuracy. right? So you want to try and preempt that. If there's other situations where it might not be a machine learning model, but accuracy is important, you want to like build trust with the judges as fast as you can. Because the judges by default are going to think you're a bit sus and be like, did they actually do that or did they not? And does it work with only this picture or does it work with every picture? So your story should make the judges feel super comfortable that you're telling the truth and that what you built actually can do what you're saying. Does that make sense? Cool. So here is a pro tip. You don't have very long, remember 3 minutes. So rather than telling me how you built your project on some slides, tell me how you built your project during your live demo. We will get to what your live demo should look like very, very shortly. But you do not need slides of all of this on. Judges have ears. Judges can hear you saying the things. Take advantage of that fact. So let's have practice. Turn to the person next to you. And we're going to go a little bit longer for this one. Think technically. How have you built your project? In a couple minutes, I'm going to ask you to share with the group. Off you go.
I'll be honest, I'm not like a technical guy, so I'm kind of going to like all the way from just like absorb as much information, like contribute to the group as I can. But what I understand, what they're doing is they're using like camera and they're trying to we 3D printed. So I know we're saying like higher education, like phones, but we're also thinking like in kindergarten, like for 3D shapes. So there's 3D printed pyramid. So I think because like we're taking like photos of multiple angles, so like you would think to be able to recognize the different shapes, and then eventually, once it can recognize, we'll create like different like profiles of different cards for the different shapes, and then that's where like they're like.
Rock is an LLM.
And then I guess I could probably make a more interesting point when I like tell them about this, because they're more like technical people, so they'll probably be able to. Yeah. Yeah. I know, like, no.
I can hear some really good conversations in the room. I heard a really interesting comment as well. Like, what if you're not super technical? And like, what if you're not entirely sure how it works? The answer is that's okay. Talk about what you do know. And if you want to kind of work it out, you can talk to other hackers. You can be like, hey, I have this. Like, how does this actually work behind the scenes? Like, I'm not quite sure. But also, you don't need to use big fancy words for the sake of using it. Like, if you built something with a camera, you don't need to be like, I use a vision sensor. You can be like, I use my phone's camera. And that's completely okay. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share? Any really cool examples?
Like the how?
The how? Any part of it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think I'll do for the second point.
Go for it.
So we integrated the FDA's official API for medications with Grok to summarize medication interactions with the user.
Yeah, that's really, really strong. You're explaining what you've done, you're explaining why you used it. Perfect. Anyone else? I'm going to ultimately stand here until someone decides to.
The girlfriend is here. So we use Claude AI to personalize the relationship with the user and get feedback about your problem solving. We integrate MongoDB database to store user preferences and make your girlfriend remember your syntax mistakes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you talked about what you've used, then you talked about what you integrated with, and you talked about why you used them. Perfect. Anyone else? One more person maybe? No? That's okay. If you want to come at the end and talk, that's A-okay too. So, we mentioned earlier that some of you are not quite finished your projects yet, and that's okay. But something to be thinking about as you're continuing to build your project and as you're kind of getting towards finishing it, is your live demo. Your live demo is the most important part of a pitch. Can you remember what we said at the start? You should show, not tell. Why do we show, not tell? Does anyone know? Yeah? Yeah, so the judges can pull their own conclusions. You want to guide those conclusions, you want to tell them a story and like explain why they should make certain conclusions. But yeah, absolutely. And there's something back.
It's more memorable than listening to a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's more memorable. Remember, judges are seeing so many demos, they want to be able to remember yours, and if it's got that wow factor, then it's so easy to remember. Yeah. Yeah.
It's more clear how like your product works if you're showing them actually how it works rather than like they have to like imagine in their brain like, oh, this is like what it's trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get it in their brain and you want to make it really clear what you've done. Like, if I was to try and sell you a super duper rare Hackathon limited edition t-shirt, would you rather me tell you I have got you a Hackathon limited edition t-shirt? Or would you rather I show you it? Because you don't know what's on that t-shirt unless I show you it, right? That could be anything. Like, there could be an organizer's face on it, and it could be terrible. Or it could be like the best thing ever, and it's like gold plated and worth $70 million. So that's why you show, not tell, so they can draw their own conclusions, but your job is to guide those conclusions. Now, your live demo is really important. It should show a flow from the user's perspective of what happens. So you want to show off features that work. It's a hackathon project. Not every feature is going to work. That's okay. Admitting something is not lying. And you also want to explain how they work. So we've talked about the how earlier. As you're using a feature, you want to go and talk about those hows. The kind of exception to this is if you've got a super complex backend. So if you're like doing something crazy with hosting, or you have like a bunch of like API calls, or you're using like a sponsor technology, which like has like a visual component too. I know VoiceFlow did that this weekend. You just want to very briefly show that. It can be just a couple of seconds, but the reason you're doing that is, as I mentioned earlier, build trust. You want to be like, hey, like for real, I actually did this, and you can see it. They're not going to necessarily inspect it or anything, but it just kind of lets them have that confidence. So let me just tell you a story. I mentioned that your live demo is super important. Imagine if, you know, your Ion looked super cool. Like, you know the Ion, who's the model here? You know the little like train, looks like this? That's the Ion. Imagine if it looked really, really cool, but it didn't get you from A to B. You probably wouldn't use the Ion, right? It's basically the TTC. The same with pitches, right? If your pitch doesn't have a live demo, it's not getting you from A to B. So I just really want to emphasize, this is the most important thing. Let me show you. I mentioned the Ion. The Ion is a wonderful piece of engineering technology that only occasionally crashes. So, this actually, since taking a screenshot has changed, it has now been 2 days since it last crashed. I want to prove that you really can demo anything for 3 minutes. So, I am going to demo you without any project, without anything, without any planning. You can confirm, we did not plan this in the workshop run-through. I am going to demo the Ion, because if the Ion can come across as a technological marvel, so can your project. We ready? I'm going to set a timer. I can hear the anticipation in the room. All right. Okay, we ready? All right. So we built the Ion, an LRT in the city of Waterloo and Kitchener. That, well, what does it do? That gets people from one place to another place on scale. It does this by being better than a bus. It has significantly increased capacity. It has its own right of way, so it doesn't have to wait in traffic except when it does. And also, it does this by being cheaper than Uber. You see, the reason the Ion is amazing is that rather than paying $10 for an Uber from Kitchener Station to E7, you only have to pay $3. That is a 300% saving. I'm not a math major, but a significant saving for the average consumer. It also makes transporting around the KW area more accessible to everyone. And accessibility is important. It lets more jobs be available to more people. It lets more people go to education. It lets more people go to shops. And that means we are stimulating the local economy with the ION. It has the potential to change the world. I joke, it doesn't. But how did we build the ION? Well, we used steel. We used screws, I guess. We used electricity to put together an LRT that looks suspiciously similar to every other LRT but is blue. And we integrated this with Google Maps to let people track the ION in real time, improving their confidence in it. Our project is hosted in Waterloo because the cool thing about the ION is it's a hardware hack. Rather than being software, you can touch it. And this is really amazing because it really shows that Waterloo is an engineering location in Canada. Now, we didn't train a machine learning model for the ION because we didn't need to. We are using human-based drivers. We've considered using self-driving ION trains, but there's a couple of reasons why we didn't do that. First of all, have you seen KW's drivers? If this was self-driving, it wouldn't just crash sometimes, it would crash every single day. Not because the self-driving technology isn't there. In fact, it's great. But because KW drivers really are not there yet. So we need to see a larger societal change to implement this. This is an early stage prototype. Imagine if there was an ION everywhere and you never needed to drive. That would be amazing. And, our technology, it works about 95% of the time. That's truly why I think the ION is amazing, and you should ride the ION. Now, I'm not an engineer. I don't even know what $3 versus $10 is in terms of percentages. But I just talked for 3 minutes about something. That means you can definitely talk for 3 minutes about your pitch. And that means even if you haven't finished what you're building this weekend, that is okay. Who hasn't finished yet? Who thinks they will finish this weekend? You are very, very confident in yourselves. Statistically, you won't. Statistically, something will break in the last minute. Statistically, something will go a bit wrong. And you know how I mentioned that a lot of the judges used to go to hackathons themselves? Forget it. It's okay. It's okay if something goes wrong. You're not trying to build something that's absolutely perfect this weekend. You're trying to prove that you've learned something new. You're trying to prove that, you had an idea and you dreamed big and you made it happen. Your aim is not to build something perfect, but it is to build something you can show rather than telling. But what do we not show? Who here has ever done a deck, either for a class or for a pitch competition or something, where, hang on, we're getting there. You're on a team of 4, there's 4 circles with your faces on, and then underneath are your names under those circles. Then you have, I am like this person at this university. Everyone know what I'm talking about? Do not include one of them. What value is that giving to a judge? They're going to see you for 3 minutes, and you're going to spend 20 seconds of that, talking about yourselves rather than what you built. The nicest way possible of building what you built, or judging what you built. Don't include a ton of backstory. You would be amazed at how many times people are like, I grew up in this place, and then my mom needed cheese. And so 14 years later, I decided to build the best possible AI-powered cheese generator. What happened 14 years ago isn't really valid. Unless you've been solving this problem for a while and you've been studying it, and this is kind of a combination of the efforts, maybe then it's valid. But it doesn't matter. A 2-minute explanation of how your project is definitely going to change the world. I know I kind of just did that for the ION, and to some extent you should do that too. You are changing the world eventually. But has anyone ever solved cancer at a hackathon? Does anyone know? No one has. To be clear, no one has solved cancer at a hackathon ever. Some really cool projects have gone from hackathons and then become real projects, For example, Apple Shortcuts on your iPhone, that was originally a hackathon project at HackGT, for example. Cool things have come from hackathons, but what you have right now is probably not going to change the world quite yet. So remember I talked about future impact? Talk about it like that. Don't talk about how you could literally solve cancer in E7 in 24, 48 hours. I promise you haven't. And don't include anything that isn't true. Many of our judges are very good bullshit detectors. Because many of them have judged more than one hackathon. And you see patterns, you see trends, they're doing job interviews, they're doing other types of pitches. So if something feels fishy, you're basically saying, hey, I maybe didn't do this thing. You should question me on it. Because judges can question you after or during your pitch. Don't open yourself up to awkward questions that are going to tank your pitch just because you wanted to lie. It's not worth it, I promise. Cool. That's a lot. I promise we're through the bulk of this, but does anyone have any questions about what we've talked about so far before we continue? Awesome. Let's talk about targeting your audience. I mentioned earlier that you need to target your audience when you're pitching. I targeted that Ion pitch to you. I made it funny because you are not 70 years old wearing a suit. I wanted to make it engaging for you and enjoyable. That's why I told that story in the way I did. But when you're targeting your audience, you need to think about who your audience actually is. Who is our audience this weekend? Do we know, the judges?
CEOs, software engineers.
Yeah, CEO is definitely a title though. Remember that those CEOs might be like 30, but they're still probably pretty chill. And yeah, they're technical, but they still want to hear how you build things, because they might have been in the same boat as you. That's a good answer. Anyone else got any thoughts about who we're demoing to this weekend? Yeah?
People next to us.
People next to us. Yeah, I guess. You want to share to other people as well. Yeah. What else? Who else are we demoing to? What's the kind of person we're demoing to? Okay, so there's two distinct groups we're demoing to this weekend. Your overall judges and your sponsor and partner judges. So you will be demoing to overall judges. Your overall judges are the people who are deciding if you're a Hackathon North finalist. I think it's 12 this year, 12 finalists. And they're deciding, these are the 12 projects we thought were awesomest at Hackathon North this weekend. They want to see how much you stand out overall. And they are judged based off Hackathon North's rubric on DevPost. Has anyone here not been on DevPost yet? All right, hackathon2024.devpost.com. Scroll down to the very bottom and you're going to see a rubric. I'm going to show you it on here as well. Give me just a second. So this is the Hackathon North DevPost page. We scroll down to the very, very bottom. Hackathon North is going to do us a huge favor and literally tell us what they're judging us off. So wow factor. Judges are looking for projects that stand out and leave a lasting impression. How do you create a lasting impression? You do a really cool live demo. How do you show your technical ability? So projects that showcase technical depth and demonstrate advanced technical knowledge. Well, first of all, talk about what you've built and how you've built something cool and what you've learned. But also, don't be afraid to talk about the how. How have you built what you've built? You want to be original, And originality isn't just about your idea, but also the implementation. So even if you built something that has been done before, which is great if it hasn't been, but even if it has, what is new and novel about the specific way you have built it? And finally, design. User experience is really important. Design doesn't necessarily mean you've opened Figma and designed something absolutely beautiful looking. It can mean that, and that is important. But imagine you're building like a dev tool, and it runs on a command line. You can't use graphics on that, right? But you can think about user experience. You can think about making sure the commands are intuitive. You can think about making sure that it doesn't error out and that you've tested it properly. So user experience isn't just about design. It's about design. But it's also about how do your users interact with your project. Have you actually thought about that? Does that make sense to everyone? Cool. The vast majority, I think every overall judge, has a technical or product-focused background. Do not be afraid to get in the weeds with these judges, because they, you can talk about technology views, you can talk about decisions you made. They're going to get it. They're going to understand. Just remember, you only have 3 minutes to do that. On the other hand, sponsor and partner judges. Who here is using a sponsor technology in your hack this weekend? Probably most people, because we all like winning more prizes. Sponsor and partner judges, even if they are told to use Hackathon's rubric, will not use it. They will ignore it. They may or may not have a rubric. I can tell you for sure that at least one company here this weekend basically judges based on vibes. So, you want to be able to work out what they're judging you on, and why they're judging you in that way. The easiest way to do that is just go talk to them. They're literally in the sponsor area right now. So just ask them, hey, what are you looking for in projects? Their deck description will give you hints, but having that conversation is really important. I'm going to give you an example and prove this. I was at Hack GT at Georgia Tech back in, I believe it was 2018, 2019. And I had built a little prototype with someone, and what we'd done is those Lime scooters, the e-scooters, they were pretty new at the time. We'd say reverse engineered the API, which was fully in Chinese. It was a great one to reverse engineer. And we connected it to the Google Maps API. So you could kind of map that data and complete trips using it. It was a cool proof of concept. It was really fun to build. We were really tired. We went to talk to a judge that evening. And it was someone who had worked in the location-based technology area, and we were using one of the APIs. And we're like, hey, what do you think of what we built? We think it's really cool, and we think we don't know what it could be used for, but we think it's nice. And he looked at us and he was like, yeah, Google Maps has been trying to get that on there for years. And also, this solves, in part, the last mile problem that is a huge issue in this area of Atlanta. It let us connect modes of transit that weren't possible. And we had a discussion for about 15 minutes, and we went back. We didn't change the project. We changed how we framed it, and we changed how a little bit of data was displayed, so that you could hook into different types of data. We won 5 prize categories that hackathon. We won so much in prize categories, I had to pay duties to the Canadian government to bring the prizes back into Canada. If I hadn't talked to that judge, do you know how many prize categories we'd likely have won? 0. Having those discussions is really important, because those discussions are the exact same discussions that are useful for when you're applying to jobs, for example. What are you looking for in my application? What are you looking for as a person? They're really important for other things too. So have those discussions. Now, your sponsor and partner judges, they're mainly focused on how you have used their technology. What you've built overall is really important. But imagine you're entering a best use of Google Cloud category. I've judged this probably about 25 times at this point. If you have used Google Cloud to do one feature in your app and it's whatever, you use it for the database, it's probably not going to win. It might do if you use it for something really cool. But if you use Google Cloud for your entire pipeline of CI/CD, you've used it for hosting, you've used a couple of their APIs to say some machine learning stuff, and then you hooked it into something else. If you tell that story correctly to that judge, then you're in a really good position to then compete for that prize. Now, that doesn't mean the project doesn't matter. It does matter, but mainly how you use that judge's API is the important part. I'm drilling this into you because, please, when you're building your slides, if you build slides, you don't even need slides. Make sure if you go to, I don't know, a code here judge, about 2 of your 3 minutes is talking about code here and how you use it in your project. You get me? Awesome. And one thing to reflect. Sponsor judges may or may not be technical. At Hackathon, generally they tend to be, but I would just check. Sometimes you get recruiters judging. You can generally suss out the vibes based on if they give you a confused face when you start talking about something technical. Don't be afraid mid-pitch to pivot. You could be like, hey, do you know about, I don't know, Docker? And if oh, I'm not sure. Instead of talking about containerization and blah, blah, blah. Even if you don't know what these words mean, that's okay. That's my whole point. You can instead say, we want to be able to use it at scale, so we use this technology that lets us do that. Right? You want to cater to that audience. So if you get the vibe someone's not technical, that's okay. Just do a slightly less technical pitch. Hear it on the fly. Final question. Do we do the same pitch for every single judge we see? No? Why do we not do that? Their objectives are different. Align their objective with your objective. All right. That was a lot of me talking at you, so I'm going to tell you really quickly how to do that. When demoing sponsors, focus on the technology. You know, I wanted to win your prize is not a good answer on why you use their technology. That doesn't mean it has to be the best technology in the world, just it solved a problem for you, explain how it solved that problem. You don't need to say, OpenAI would be better at that, or Cohere would be better at that, or Claude would be better at that, but like we used you because you wanted to give us money. Just be honest, but talk about like why you used it. A cool thing that you should know is judges might interrupt your pitch. It happens occasionally. They try not to, but sometimes they get excited. Don't take it as a negative thing. Just answer the questions and then move on. Just don't let it be too much of your time up. And then, if you ran into challenges this weekend, who here has run into a challenge while building your product? Yeah. That's normal. That's okay. But you really want to be talking about those challenges in your pitch. How did you overcome them? Do you have a really cool success story? Did you pivot? We originally used one piece of technology and used a different one? That's okay. Talk about it. All right. But what if I didn't finish my project? That was me in 2018. That's probably going to be at least one of you today. And that is okay. Because if we haven't finished our project, do we still demo? Let's try it again. If we don't finish our project, do we still demo? Yes. Why do we still demo? It's probably good enough. YOLO is a good answer. Because you learn really useful skills. Because it helps you get better at job interviews. It helps you get better at pitching. It helps you get a nice demo sticker, which is one of a kind and only available if you demo this weekend. Please, please, please demo. It is okay not to finish. Statistically, pretty much every team this weekend will not finish. Because when you're building software projects, there isn't really a finishing point. There's always more you could do. It's not like a bridge where it's a bridge and it's done. You could always add another feature. So you are finished. You just finished for an MVP or for a prototype, right? And even if you're not, that's okay too. So show off what you've got. If you've got a really cool front end and a really cool API, but they don't talk to each other, just do a demo where you use them separately. Talk about the challenges that I mentioned earlier. And explain next steps. If you really haven't got super far and you just don't know where to go, talk about what you would have done with more time. Talk about the progress you've made to be able to do those things. You can just say, like, if we had more time, we would have integrated with this feature, this API, and this would have allowed us to get more accurate data. This would have allowed us to build this feature. It's okay that you didn't get that, but just call out what you would have done. Judges do respect it. So, as the final interactive thing before I kind of open it to the floor to anyone to do anything in here, turn to the person next to you and in 30 seconds, tell them what you have already got working in your project. Off you go.
All I know is that I also know one of the people was kind of
Thank you. And stick around because we have stickers for everyone who attended this workshop. All right, as I go around and give these stickers out, does anyone want to share what they've already got working in their project this weekend? Love to hear a couple. Nothing? You definitely have those. Come on. Yeah? What have you got working this weekend already? Nice. So it sounds like you've got the LLM connected. You've got like a plan of where you're going next. It's like it's not quite all like integrated with each other yet. So yeah, you can totally demo that. That sounds like a really good place to be. Anyone else want to share something before we open the floor to everybody? All right. So this is the fun part. There's 5 minutes left of this workshop officially.
but I'm gonna stick around for a little bit afterwards. I appreciate you might not have your project yet, but I demoed for Ion, and the Ion wasn't my project. So would anyone like to stand up here and share on the spot with no notes for only 1 minute what they built and talk about it? You don't need to show it, you can just talk about it. It's a good bit of practice. Yeah? Please give her a round of applause as we go to the stage. All right, stand here. I'm going to take this mic off so we can get you on the recording. Give me just a second. Do. There is a prize for this, by the way, so get ready. All right, please tell us all about what you built.
Okay, guys, please. Oops,
It's okay, it's still attached. There we go.
Okay, guys, raise your hand if you have a girlfriend. Okay, one person, guys. It's a one person. So
Come on.
The problem we have right here, it's loneliness. Another problem is who has a job, lined up. Okay, not much. So we're jobless and lonely. So what we came here is we solved that. Now you have an AI girlfriend that's gonna teach you how to do code. She's gonna say, why are you not here today? We're having a study day. Where are you? Okay, then you can mine points to buy her flowers, to buy her outfits, and this is how you can make her happy. She's gonna love to see you come back.
How did you build her?
We build her? Simple. React, we use Claude AI, and we also use a lot of some AI stuff that I'm not part of it, but we have React, Claude AI, MongoDB to store preferences, your preferences. She will remember that you bought her flowers. She'll remember that you did that mistake while writing that map, but she'll remember everything and be your best girlfriend forever.
Hi, Racquel. This is the first time you've run this workshop and someone built a girlfriend. Anyone want to have another go? Yeah, come on up. You're going to get to shout because the battery just died. Yeah. So shout so the laptop camera can hear you.
Off you go.
All right, so we built MegaSense. It is an app that uses the FDA's official drug API to, alongside the Grok LLM, to check through the medications you're using, check through any substances you consumed in recent times, and check if that medication you're about to buy off the shelf of the pharmacy is okay to take. It's built to revolutionize healthcare. I mean, it saves you a lot of time, so you don't have to wait to ask a doctor or wait in line to ask the pharmacist, who's probably very busy. Healthcare, it'll save your doctor a lot of time. It'll save the pharmacist a lot of time for people asking about non-serious medications. And especially in a time when healthcare workers are burnt out, overworked, understaffed, saving just even a little bit of time there can mean the world of difference to them.
Awesome.
Your prize is also an entire stack of these stickers.
Yay.
Got time for one more? Does anyone else have a go? Yeah, come on up to a friend. Woo! All right, do me a favor and shout this as loud as you possibly can so this tiny little mic over here still picks you up.
Correct. Who here has hosted at least one Twitch stream? Okay, there we go, a few hands. Yeah, I did that in grade 10, streamed Fortnite. But a big issue that the streamers are facing is content moderations. If you're not loaded enough to hire someone to moderate your content and the curse words you say live so you don't get banned on Twitch, that's a big problem. Now, and as far as we could search the World Wide Web, we couldn't find any automated systems. So what we did was utilize AI to moderate your content in real time. What happens is we transcript your voice, read it, and depending on the list of keywords that you say, we bleep them out. So say I don't want to say chocolate in my stream for whatever reason. When I say, wow, this game is so chocolate, what goes through could be something like, wow, this game is beautiful. So that will be something the audience listens to.
How did you build it?
Good question. We utilize a trained model called Whisper to transcript your voice. I'm not sure how we are detecting the words, but we're using a simple hash map, a lead code easy, mostly. And we are using the Google Cloud platform to process this information, and we are feeding it back to you via the speaker.
Awesome. Well done. Great job. Here is your we're going to wrap up. We're going to stop recording here. If anyone would like to come and, without it being recorded and in private, like have a go into practice, come down as soon as you've stopped it, and you're more than welcome to. Additionally, you'll be able to get all of these slides of these examples from somewhere.
I'll let you know in 2 minutes.
We will find out in 2 minutes. If we don't find out in 2 minutes, I will pop them somewhere in Slack in like the general channel or something. Hopefully this was useful. And if you want to just chat about it, get advice or anything, I'm here until I'm not. So thank you so much for coming.